Welcome back to Bold of You to Say. We're back with another episode. I see him gearing up.
To Bold of You to Say.
Oh wow, he's doing the calm
I'm
one.
sorry, not tonight. I don't feel. I'm not feeling the screamies.
This is a chamomile tea kind of episode.
Yeah, it is. You know, get your tea out, and I have a candle burning right now.
7:58 p.m.
Yeah,
we're back with another episode. This week we talked about the Artemis
Alex's
mission.
Mom.
NASA is doing some stuff. We're retiring the your mom bit. We decided this episode, no more. No one can do it anymore.
Way to call me out there, Alex.
No one is allowed
Christ.
to make your mom jokes. Anyway, the New York Times crossword guy might be a Nazi. More on that later.
How do you even drop that in conversation? He might be. Anyway,
we
moving
don't
on.
know for sure, but the signs are not positive. Anyway, the movie that we talked about this week, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Good movie. Best movie ever. Definitely the best one that we've talked about this year so far.
Especially for Star Trek.
Yeah, what's that supposed to mean? What, is Star Trek not good enough for you?
Okay, listen. I like Star Trek. It's just all of their movies have just kind of been eh.
No, this one felt good. This one felt different. Felt entertaining. Yeah. In a very visceral way.
It had energy to it.
I love it.
Had an energy to it.
Yeah. Just three old farts. Just being bros.
Three old racist farts, except for one guy.
Yeah, two racist old farts and their minority friend.
Actually, let's the minority friend, one racist fart and one sexist / womanizing fart.
Yeah, who's also a little bit racist, probably.
Little bit racist, probably is dating someone who's like old enough to be his daughter.
Yeah, if you don't know, we are talking about Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, and Spock. But you have to guess which one is which. We're not doing all the work for you. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there are timestamps in the description below, so you can skip around if you want to skip to a certain part, or if you just can't wait to get to a certain part. It's all listed out. Use it if you want, or don't. We can't make you do anything.
Listen, I don't fucking care.
Let's jump to warp speed into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ass first, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like a failed birth. Let's failed birth this episode.
So I am so very proud of NASA. I know the Artemis capsule came back to Earth a little while ago. But it's really showing the fact that NASA doesn't have to worry about getting shareholders.
Yeah,
and they can just go and
back up.
do things.
So can you explain the Artemis mission for anyone that doesn't know, including...
Yeah, sure.
Not myself. Not myself. I know all about it. Okay, I just, for all the other morons. I mean, for all the morons, I'm not one of them.
Right. So as many people know, me and Alex have been doing the show for a while now. And so Artemis is here for two very important reasons. One, to get man back to the moon. And second, so I can fuck Alex's mom while we're getting to the moon.
Sorry, what was that? Your mic was muted by me in post.
Like an asshole.
I wanted to say, listening back to last week's episode, and I did end up cutting a couple of them, just the number of times we said that we fucked the other one's mom, I don't know, it made even me a little uncomfy.
I'm almost proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm almost proud of it.
If we can get 5 in each segment on this one, it'll circle back to being funny.
Right. So anyway, Artemis is just America's attempt to get back to the moon. We have a human-rated lunar capsule that NASA's testing right now. They sent it on a journey to the moon and back. It took, I think, a couple weeks, which is interesting because the original Apollo command module was only designed to work for a week, 2 weeks.
That's great.
Right? It's cool. Well, it's neat because now now we know more about orbits. We know more about how space works in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Thankfully, and NASA has made an orbital plan that allows Artemis to do what it needs to do more efficiently, so they could pack less fuel and have more time in life support and making a capsule that's larger and making it more habitable than it was in the 60s, which is really
awesome.
cool. Furthermore, it really shows the difference between how NASA versus SpaceX and Blue Origin operate. When you have things that can operate on a scale like what SpaceX is doing with Falcon, and with their Dragon capsule, they have to vie for shareholders. Like they can't just put all of their profits into R&D, right? They have to like play the game, play the economic game. Where NASA doesn't. They don't. They don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
right?
you're kind of making the point that I would make. Like, yeah, space isn't really that profitable. And to the extent that it is, like, you can't just invest all of your profits back into it. Like you said, you got to play the game. But yeah, also, to the extent that it does become profitable in the future, like, it's just going to be dystopian.
I mean, if like big corporations do it, technically, yeah. But my point is to, like, with that, if you were to go to any like shareholder conference or any investor conference, right? And let's say you had a whole detailed plan that if done perfectly to the letter, and let's assume that perfect in this context is like within the realm of doing with comfortable margins of error, right? If you went to an investor conference with this idea that is completely logistical and planned out, they would still think you're a fucking crackhead because it has to do with space.
Yeah.
Right? And so this isn't like for instance, explaining this stuff to the normal layman person is not easy, and it takes a lot of convincing, even though
it's literally rocket science.
It is literally rocket science.
The thing that we use to describe something impossibly difficult.
Right, but the scales at which we would have to, like, for instance, I play Kerbal Space Program, right? I know Kerbal Space Program is a long haul away from what NASA actually does. It's incredibly simplified.
Yeah, but it gives you an idea of it.
It gives you a general idea. I've been working on in the game making a system of fuel shipment throughout the Kerbal system so that I don't have to launch giant rockets every single time I want to go to the moon.
Yeah.
I just launch a small rocket that gets into orbit, refuels, and then goes to the moon. Like that, right? The issue is the infrastructure to do that was in the game very fucking expensive.
Yeah.
But it's paying off. It's completely paying off. So any company that wants to put the infrastructure up there, like, good idea. I think that's good. That's a good thing to do. Good luck convincing shareholders that that's worth doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, the infrastructure isn't what's getting the astronauts to the moon. It's the actual rocket that, without the infrastructure, would have to be massively less efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a similar idea to why we need public roads. Like,
right. Yeah. I mean,
mini
it's objectively
recommendation
the same argument. Yeah.
Mini recommendation. If you want to see videos of like libertarians just getting rhetorically destroyed, look up any Sam Cedar libertarian debate. He has like a YouTube/radio show that he does, and people call in. And every libertarian thinks that they're the first person, like the first libertarian to like call in. They think they're the only true one. And they always like the one thing that you can bring up to like destroy a libertarian's like talking points and their like general worldview about how everything should be privatized is you just bring up roads. Yeah. Like, who does the roads? Like, does Walmart do the roads? Then
roads?
What incentive do they have to pave any roads that don't lead to a Walmart?
Right. So, sorry, kind of going back to my main argument. I don't mean to take away from what you were saying, but I want to say SpaceX and Blue Origin, like, what have you done lately?
Yeah.
Sorry, but what have you done? Like, listen, the public is like, they're like, cool, getting people into orbit. That's awesome.
Yeah. Those two companies are great for making claims, but not so much for actually following through on them.
I mean, that's great and all. Have you put one of your capsules in orbit around the moon?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that, like the
answer is
famous,
no.
yeah, it's like the
for the
famous
record.
screenshot of like the YouTube video. It's like, Elon Musk, I'm going to take us to Mars in 10 years. And you see the videos from 10 years ago.
10 years, like 12 years ago now.
Yeah, like 12 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And like to the people who are going to be like, well, he put a car in orbit around Mars. And it's like, well, no.
That was a publicity
he didn't.
stunt.
He put a car in... Right. He put a car in orbit around the sun, which has occasional rendezvous with Mars.
Yeah.
So it's not in orbit around Mars. It's orbiting the sun, and it does occasional flybys of Mars. That's cool. But here's the thing.
Like, couldn't
Here's
you just
the
put
fucking thing.
anything into space and it would fall into the sun's orbit? Like, isn't that just like the default? I don't know anything about space, but just as a layman,
once you break off from the Earth's gravitational pull, you're orbiting the sun.
Yeah.
Like until you get around the gravitational pull of something else, you're orbiting the sun.
Yeah. Just as like a layman thinking about it for more than half a second, like, yeah, wouldn't anything in the solar system be technically orbiting the sun? Like, just by default.
Right. But here's the thing too. You can say, okay, great. Well, he did that. Okay, that's neat. The thing is, he didn't do that to like make money. He did that because he thought it would be like fun and like a neat publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Like putting 3 Falcon 9s together to launch something into like solar orbit is not profitable. That's not profitable to do.
Yeah.
Whatever you're putting up there will not be worth the investment of getting it up there.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I like NASA, because NASA's willing to do, by the way, this is better because it's like the combined debt on behalf of the taxpayers is less than 1%. By the way, would like to point that out.
Yeah. This is something that like I think Neil deGrasse Tyson points out a lot. Like NASA, like it does so much cool stuff with like a fraction of a percent of the discretionary budget.
Right.
Imagine what we could do if we
cool.
like properly funded. If they had 1% of the government's
and here's the
budget.
thing, though. But here's the thing, and why another reason I love NASA is because they're not complaining. They're the only government sector that will like ask for less money.
Yeah.
Right. They're the only government sector that goes, hey, yeah, with the stuff you gave me, I was able to get the job done with maybe some despair. Could you just give me less next time?
Yeah.
I just want to keep doing this, but more efficiently. Right. Name another government sector that does that.
Right. Meanwhile, well, we got 2 meanwhiles on this one. Meanwhile, the discretionary budget, I believe, was just signed in, and the military gets a majority of the budget, and it's way more than they asked for. It's way more than the Biden administration asked for. Just way more than anyone asked for, and it's just too much. And also, meanwhile, Elon Musk is like, oh, give me another decade. Like, not even him, just the people that like him are like, give him another decade. I swear he'll do it. Give him more government subsidies. I swear he will go to Mars personally, and he might take some of us with him.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's what I've learned, and I know it's not like as simple as this. It's gonna continue to be ridiculously expensive to launch things from Earth into Earth orbit.
Yeah, but it's a public good.
That's just how it's going to go. It's a public good for like satellites and stuff because you can get information sent to you. But if you're sending people, like you're talking maybe 70 to 100 pounds of water that you're just shipping up into space. And that's not like efficient to do. I think the future, just from playing Kerbal Space Program, this is where I kind of think it'll go given how efficiently and well things have been running in my Kerbal Space Program world. We need to start producing fuel in space and having long duration boosters that are designed to carry people to and fro from the Earth to the moon that are used repeatedly and can be refueled in orbit. And you generate the fuel on the moon and launch it into orbit. Otherwise you're shipping so much weight from the Earth into orbit when that just doesn't make sense in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, the last thing that I want to say about it, unless you have more to get to on this, the last point that I want to make is like, yeah, it is like a public good to go to space, not just to launch satellites, but it's like the next frontier. Like it's just good. Like I don't know, like if you don't already get it, I don't know how to explain that going to space is good for the species.
Right. Yeah.
But like it's just
mainly
it's
because
just a good thing.
One other point too.
Yeah.
The more exposure we as a race get to like venturing into space, or I shouldn't say into space, but venturing out of our planet, right? To see kind of the big picture that we live on a rock.
Yeah.
That needs to be taken like care of. I think that will really drive more like really dirty, icky manufacturing off planet. I hope.
Yeah.
And that sounds like crackhead energy, but go to Florida and they'll get it done.
Yeah, I don't know. I just worry with that, like, especially if it is like Blue Origin doing it. Like, ironically, there is an Amazon TV show. I think it's The Expanse. It was bought by Amazon, but it's an Amazon show, ironically, that shows the perils of privatized space travel. And like I think the main characters are like just some like miners on an asteroid somewhere that have never seen the sun or whatever. Like it's like classic like coal mining, like how dangerous that is, but in space. Like I worry that we're gonna have like an underclass of people that just live and die on asteroids mining resources.
And I don't see that happening. Mainly because it doesn't make sense to send a person to do something that a robot could do just as efficiently, even more efficiently, and for 24 hours. If I were in charge of the fucking like writing, I would say just like have a little inflatable greenhouse that you make around an asteroid, let it gas out, collect the gas, and then you have your fuel. You don't even need people. Just heat up the motherfucker and let it outgas, collect that gas. You're good. I worry about it like I worry about it being like a labor intensive process that we like rely on an underclass for, because like we could already automate a lot of jobs out of existence, but we choose not to because it would take away jobs. Just jobs for jobs' sake is like a fundamental like need under capitalism, and I worry that like it'll ruin space travel. But yeah, the final point that I wanted to make, and I don't remember all of it now because I got a little derailed. I'm sorry, I did derail you a little bit. That's on me.
No, so yeah, we'll more on this later. But in Star Trek, like they didn't go to space because it was profitable. They went to space because it was the next frontier. They went to space because it was just good, good for people.
Also, it was politically motivated.
Yeah, I don't know much about the lore, but I do know generally they're like space communists or whatever.
Well, yes and no. So if you watch Star Trek Discovery, I'll make this incredibly brief. Star Trek Discovery predates the original series by like 100, not 100 years, like within a decade. I don't fucking know. Who cares? Anyway, in the original series, they're just off the back of the Federation Klingon war, and they're trying to expand their influence around the galaxy so that the Klingons don't just take everything. The thing is, where the Klingons are a lot more like, give me what you have, and I won't fuck you up, whereas the Federation is like, hey, join our Federation and become a democratic member of this society where we can all win, and we have a universe filled of resources that we don't have to fight over because there's plenty for everyone.
Yeah, like a post-scarcity universe.
Exactly. And that's, at least with our planet, I hope we raised the bar to that, where it's like, hey, we now have all the resources we need and the ability to get it anywhere we want it for a generally affordable cost, right? Let's just raise the bar and just say everyone should be able to be fed and taken care of. And
I mean, we can already do that.
Yeah.
We can already, like, at least in America, like I don't know like worldwide, but I know in America, as like the top imperialist nation, we have the resources to feed and clothe and shelter everyone. But we just choose not to because we're just operating under a different philosophy. We're not operating under the philosophy of we need to clothe and shelter everyone. We're operating under the philosophy of, no, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work for everything. And even if you do work, you're not guaranteed a standard of living.
Right. And I think that getting over that getting over that hump will be an important part of human development. Really.
Yeah, I do also hope for a communist revolution anyway.
It doesn't have to be violent, though. You can keep your economies, your local economies, cool. That's fine. I just want to make sure that you have a house and are fed.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a house or food, I can make a system that can get you a house and food.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, space travel, I see a lot. I see it as very similar to something like public roads, where it's something that we all need. Like, maybe we don't need, like, I don't need to go to space right now. But, like, if I was a person in, like, 1650, I don't need a paved road going, 50 miles in whatever direction. But, like, we've, we've grown accustomed to, like, having roads that go places, right? And we don't rely on private corporations to pave them and maintain them. We do it, collectively with our tax dollars, with our collective pool of money. And I see space as a similar thing, where I hope it's not primarily done, by, large corporations. I hope it's done by, like, the people. Like, I hope it's a collective endeavor.
Here's just what I see in the next, like, couple decades. I see kind of a world that isn't governed by planes for mass transit from, like, continent to continent. I can see either, like, basically ICBMs carrying people from continent to continent, or having, like, stations around the Earth where you can just relatively cheaply fly up there and hang out for, like, a couple hours until the Earth is in a correct orientation that you can land where you wanted to land. Which is kind of an interesting way to think about it, instead of moving your position to a place on the world.
Just wait for the world to catch up.
Position. Right, exactly. And the cool thing about that is, like, upkeep for a station like that would be relatively cheap. Like, you just have to keep it in orbit and have systems that can keep oxygen and water going. Like, it's hard. It's fucking hard, but it's not impossible. It's, like, within our realm of possibility. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Anyway, I swear, 10 more years, he'll have us there. Swear to God. Hand in the Bible. That's it. Give him another.
I would be more impressed.
Maybe 20 years. He'll have us there. And another.
I'd be more impressed.
Give him $5 trillion, and he might get some people to Mars.
Just if you make a system where you can lift, I don't know, like 10 people plus cargo into a low Earth orbit to a station, so that they can wait until they can re-enter and land in Europe, and, like, each ticket costs maybe $150. That's going to impress me.
Yeah, I just don't see that being done by, like, Blue Origin or SpaceX. Like, that's no. Maybe the technology could be there, but I do not see it being anywhere near affordable for the average person. Because, like,
and
I don't know how much it would cost, but I imagine it would, like, take a lot to break even on that, let alone make a profit. And if you're, like, the only company or one of 2 companies doing that, there's no way that prices are going to be driven down by quote unquote market forces.
Right. Well, if you think about the fuel development or the fuel generation and the station, it's like the utility itself as a station being like a write-off from the government. Like, we'll put this and that, we'll make this and put that into orbit. All you have to pay for as a consumer is the transit to and fro. Right? It could work. The thing is, it's hard to quantify something like that, because how do you quantify what the ISS has done in terms of revenue? You can't.
Right.
Nonetheless, we would all on Earth take the ISS or count the ISS as being invaluable.
Right. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, like, if it is like SpaceX or Blue Origin running that operation, like, they're just going to price gouge you. It's going to be like, even if it costs them, like, whatever, let's say it costs like $200 to ship someone up into space, just that shipment.
Right.
Like, they're still going to charge like $10,000 just because they can. That's what I worry about. That's the most important. It's one of the most important things, just the fact that, like, corporations will price gouge whenever given the chance. And I don't want them in charge of something as important as space travel.
I worry when it's like space mining they're in charge of, because that's a resource that you can get like dependent on. In terms of transit, like just getting something up there, like I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because like, let's be honest, like the U.S. government could just do that anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like it would be less. It would be like it would cost more, but we could just do that anyway.
Yeah, if it's something like a space elevator
projects.
If it's something like a space elevator, like I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Like it's like PS5 price gouging. Like it's bad, but no one's going to die from it. Assuming that there's like still adequate transit. Like if we're like, okay, we don't need planes anymore. You know, Jeff Bezos made a space elevator. Like maybe then there'd be a problem.
Right. I just, because there's a lot of pollution with planes, and just getting off of that would be like a great improvement, especially when it's something that like could be marketed as like an experience too, right? Like go into orbit.
Dude, if it's marketed as an experience, you are getting Disney World prices.
I mean, yeah. What if it's like an affordable? What if it's an affordable experience though? What if it's only like $150 to get up there?
I don't know. I see it more likely to be marketed as like a luxury thing. Because like, there's some weird rich people that would be more likely to spend money on space travel, like a space elevator, if they knew that poor people couldn't get it. That's
true. I guess I'm looking at this in terms of like, once we get the utility there, and once we get like just ships that can just do that efficiently, and like what's holding us back, right?
Yeah.
Just make an American space station.
Yeah.
And then have it part-time be like a bus stop for people trying to get to France.
Yeah, that would be nice. I hope that would require, to be realistic, that would require an ounce of progress within our government. So it's going to happen about 10 lifetimes from now. And that is a conservative estimate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we got through the. I'm noticing a strong space theme this episode. We got the Artemis story. We're talking about Star Trek, Kerbal space program. We're going to talk about that in recommendations. Strong space theme. I have a quick one. This is more just like, hey, this is weird. I don't really have much in-depth analysis, but I did text you about this.
Yeah.
Is Elon Musk guilty of treason? So this is just something that I found on Twitter the other day. Hold on, I'm loading the tweet. This is from I don't know how to Natik Malikzada. I'll link in description. He says on Twitter, a senior Taliban officials has got a blue tick for his Twitter page by paying $8 a month. At Elon Musk, how do you allow this? The Taliban are on the US and UN sanctions list, and any kind of business with members of this group is not allowed. Accepting $8 payments from a senior member of this terrorist group in return for a blue tick completely violates international rules. Now, I don't expect anything to really come of this. I expect like a slap on the wrist at most. But how funny would it be if they broke out the gallows just because Elon Musk took $8 from the Taliban?
That'd be really fun. That'd be great.
Imagine if that was the end of his story.
Well, because $8 like isn't enough for them to fuck many people's lives over. So, like, it's you take down a giant and you feed an ant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, $8 is enough. Like, that's all that is doing is just going into the pit that is Twitter's debt. So, like, it's not even going to anything.
Yeah.
But he's still technically taking money from terrorists, which is like very illegal.
But let's be pragmatic here as well. Like the former Afghani government that was in place before America pulled out, like they don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
they don't. And so currently the Taliban have taken control of the country of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And that's just the fact of the matter. Like no amount of like, they're not legitimate will make them not still in control of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So
But as far as I'm aware, they're still on the sanctions list. Like they're still like considered terrorists.
100%. Yeah. But I mean, North Korea has a Twitter, right?
I don't know. I know a lot of bad people have Twitter accounts. The difference is that he's accepting a Twitter Blue subscription from a senior member of the Taliban. That's like the crux. It's not just that they're on Twitter. The crux of it is that he's like technically accepting payment from terrorists.
So I believe North Korea is on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that you like whenever like the conversation of someone being banned from Twitter comes up, like every time someone brings up, well, did you know the ISIS has a Twitter account? Like, yeah,
I don't mean to be like that guy, but like the only difference between North Korea and the Taliban, I mean, there are a lot of cultural difference. I'm not like trying to say they're exactly the same, but just in terms of how they govern, the only difference is one is categorized as a terrorist group and the other is categorized as a dangerous nuclear power.
Yeah, like a sovereign nation.
Right. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you try to say, like, the Taliban isn't the official governing body of Afghanistan, they are, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's not even, like, the point here. Like, they're technically, like,
list,
they are technically the government of Afghanistan. North Korea is too,
and they have a check mark, so...
Yeah, but, I mean, is it because they're subscribed to Twitter Blue, or is it because they're, like, actually verified?
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't think we do. Maybe we do, but I don't think we consider any like individual member of the North Korean government as like terrorists. Like
no, but they're definitely on a sanctions list.
Yeah,
for like humanitarian issues because they actually use slave labor.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like a whole different conversation, though. Like, if you want to talk about, like, is Afghanistan a legitimate nation now because they're run by the Taliban? Like, is the Taliban a legitimate government? Like, that's a whole separate conversation. Besides,
but like,
this.
You can have it illegal for governments to get verified on Twitter, or you can make it illegal for terrorist organizations to be verified on Twitter. It seems like least for the instance
the
of
check mark
Afghanistan,
isn't the
you
problem.
Can't have both.
The check mark isn't the problem. Like you can get
it's
verified.
The fact they paid for it. Yeah,
you can get verified without paying for it.
Right. Okay. I mean that's fair. Okay. Never mind. I'm just being a tough guy.
Yeah. Just let's keep our eye out on him. Let's keep our eye on Elon Musk.
I don't want to.
It seems like every day I get a new newsfeed thing on my phone that's like, hey, Elon Musk tripped on his own balls.
Hey, now he's fucking crazy. I'm like, yeah, I did know that actually. Thank you.
Yeah. Every day he digs his hole deeper and deeper. Just his collective hole of just terrible decisions.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're about a half hour and we got time for maybe another one of these news stories. So we got McCarthy don't got the votes. I didn't know any of the Beatles were running for speaker, but we also got the New York Times crossword swastika, and we got Henry Cavill getting fired from being Superman. We don't have to get to the Henry Cavill Superman thing, but do you want to do the McCarthy thing, or do you want to do the New York Times crossword swastika?
I think we can do both. I can make the McCarthy thing really quickly.
Okay.
So since the House of Representatives is now controlled by the Republicans, or the GOP, I should say, the great grand old party.
Very grand, very old, quite a party.
Right. The Congressman Kevin McCarthy, has been trying to get the Speaker of the House position. So it turns out that people don't want to vote for a spineless hack. Did you know that, Alex?
No,
people
I had
want to
no
vote
idea.
for a dude who will just kind of capitulate and not show any leadership capability.
Well, I mean that'll
when it comes to
that'll definitely hurt you in the Republican Party. But I think it's a requirement to be a Democrat, to run as a Democrat in Congress. Just being like, we can't pass this. Oh, I'm not going to try and pass this.
Yeah,
the Republicans will vote it down. Oh, the president doesn't actually have that much power, but please vote in the next presidential election because this is the most important election of our lifetime. Oh, but the president can't actually do much.
One thing that I've seen McCarthy try to do is create some sort of like right wing to centrist bridge in the Nazi Party, in the Republican Party. But the issue is, and the reason I brought up Nazis was because it's like trying to get neo-Nazi conspiracy theorists to agree with fiscal conservatives.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, doesn't work well. That doesn't really, people who like just believe in the institution of government and how government's supposed to function generally don't agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
On most things. And it turns out they won't vote for you as speaker if you want to give her an oversight committee spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you insinuating that Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the Nazi wing of the party? Because I'm fully on board if that's okay.
She will say anything to get elected is how I view it. Also, like McCarthy is so thirsty for votes that he's just like, hey Marjorie, I'll give you an oversight committee position if you vote for me. And she's just like, yeah, sure.
I think it's great that now, Republicans are imploding.
Oh, it's so funny. And the cool thing is, and this is why I say they're making American history in all the wrong ways again. Because the last time they've had to vote twice on figuring out who to be Speaker of the House, that was 100 years ago, and at least they got it right the second vote.
Yeah,
this is two times, twice.
So is it just McCarthy like in the running? Like, are they just voting yes or no on him, or is he like running
McCarthy's
against
the
anyone?
Big name. McCarthy's the big name, and they have people who are running against him, but regardless, you need like a certain percentage of the vote. McCarthy has like a majority, but not enough of a majority to become speaker.
Yeah.
By the way, you need a majority of Congress, not just a majority of the GOP.
Right.
Right. So already we know all the Democrats are like, we're not voting for McCarthy. Fuck him.
Right. Why would they?
Just off the bat, we know this. Why would they? Why fucking would they?
Yeah. I've been hearing that there's like this unique situation going on where the Democrats obviously aren't going to vote for the Republican nominee, but the Republicans are so fractured that like they can't really decide on anyone. They can't get anyone to that percentage. Mm-hmm. So it's entirely possible that they could just not elect a Speaker of the House just because they can't decide on anyone. You can't.
Yeah, Government cannot function without a Speaker of the House.
We are
without a Speaker of the House.
Completely at an impasse. Like this is an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object because we can't do anything without a Speaker of the House, but we can't get a Speaker of the House.
Right.
Imagine if I remember saying this to you on the phone, but imagine if this is how we went out. Imagine if this was the end of the United States government.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was our downfall. Grandpa, why? How did the United States fall? Well, there's this guy named Kevin.
A House Speaker.
There's this guy named Kevin. He was trying to make Nazis agree with fiscal conservatives, and no one really liked him. But no one else could really get a majority of the vote, so we just kind of all threw in the towel. We just decided this wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Well, and this is like the classic, like what we've seen between Democrats and Republicans. So, for instance, when the Affordable Care Act passed, Republicans were like, the second we get enough power, we're going to overturn this shit. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, finally, they get enough power to overturn that shit, and they can't overturn that shit. Right? At least when Democrats like get into office, even if they can't do the full thing of what they wanted to do, they have their ducks in a row, you know?
Yeah.
And their room is clean, and at least they can all be like, this is what we want to do.
They can at least like do procedure.
Right. And whenever Republicans in office are like, we're going to do this. And they're like, never mind, two of us don't want to do this, so we can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a fundamental issue with
It's
like,
so funny.
I mean, like, I don't like, I feel like a lot of people, if they're listening, will just tune out when I say this, but I fully believe it is just a fundamental flaw in right-wing ideology. Like, if you are
I'm sorry, what did you say?
right-wing,
I tuned out there for a second.
okay, so this one's just for me, but I fully believe that if you are of that like right-wing like mindset, even if you're not like full fascist, you just have some of that little fascy tendencies in you, like, I think you are incapable of governing in any kind of like procedural institution, anything that involves like a process. Like, yeah, like right-wing like ideology is mostly just accustomed to like just saying some shit and getting it done, you know? Like, oh, I declare all toys are illegal, and then they're illegal. That was a subtle reference to Santa Claus is coming to town for anyone listening. The Burgermeister Meisterburger was, he was a fascist, and I am going to die on that hill.
I thought you were trying to make a reference to Abraham Lincoln, because that's kind of what he did during the Civil War. Not that it was like an inherently bad thing.
No, I would say that was justified.
Was, like, good.
I would say I declare slavery over. I would say that's justified.
I don't like that. Yeah. I mean, granted, it was probably more of a political stunt to get Europe on the Union side, but...
For sure, it was not because he wanted to end slavery. Like, I think everyone's pretty much on board with that.
I don't care.
Like, he was not an abolitionist.
He was as a senator.
He just wanted to do some political stuff, and it was just
the absurdity is that, like, even when he was elected, like, he was just the funny part is that the only reason the Union split was just because an abolitionist was elected president. You know, like, that's the funny thing. He was like, I'm not gonna end slavery, and they're like, shut up, you're going to end slavery, we're leaving. And he's like, all right. I guess they're leaving. Let's wait for them to attack us first, so we're not the bad guys. And then the South attacked us first. Well, and then
I will commend him for actually then becoming what they feared him to be, becoming the guy that ends slavery. I commend him for that, and not trying to like walk it back and be like, no, you can actually have more slaves now. Because like this is like the heart of a lot of criticism that I have with Joe Biden, where no matter what he does, the Republicans will still yell communist at him. They'll still call him Antifa,
do anything,
and say he's doing CRT, even though he's done like next to nothing. So I say, why not just be what they claim you are? Just be CRT, communist Antifa.
Right.
Just be Dark Brandon.
I had a point with that, but I forgot. So, never mind.
All right. So I think that's all that we got with Paul McCartney running for Senate or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because you got the person, and the chamber of Congress that they're running for, both wrong.
Yeah. But I still got the idea of it. I got the heart of it.
Yeah, good enough, but goddamn, dude.
You knew what I was saying.
I did. Yeah. It's fun to watch this. It's fun.
Yeah. So anyway, the last news story. How far in are? Okay, we got time. This will have to be brief. But anyway, so on the first day of Hanukkah, if you didn't hear about this, on the first day of Hanukkah, the New York Times thought that it would be super neato to have their crossword very strongly resemble a swastika. Now, Gavin, if you click the first link,
in fact, I believe a couple of the words were even like Heil Hitler too, right? So like,
well, actually, more on this later. But I saw a video on TikTok that like actually kind of elaborated on this and showed like I think it was on their like crossword app or something. But they had like a bunch of crosswords that looked like swastikas, and one of them, like one of the words was Jew, and it's like, oh, you are playing with fire if this is not on purpose, and if it is on purpose, you're like, this is just Nazi shit. But anyway, so if you click the first link in the show notes, this is an article from The Wrap. I do not want to sign up for your thing. I don't want to sign up. Oh my god, I hate this. Oh, it will not.
Let's take a look at this.
Anyway.
Does it show the thing? Does it show the...
I believe so. So this is from the Wrap. Actually, Meghan McCain tweeted this. Enemy of the show, very much not friend of the show. Meghan McCain tweeted, on the first night of Hanukkah, the anti-Israel New York Times issues a crossword puzzle that looks like a swastika. Can't make this shit up. We see you at NY Times. We see you. Now, I don't know about the whole anti-Israel stuff. Like, being anti-Israel does not mean that you're anti-Semitic. It is a government, not a religion. But anyway, yeah, she posted that with the photo of the crossword. And I want your first impressions of it. Tell me.
Fucking damn it.
Tell me that is not a swastika.
That is a swastika. That is clearly a swastika. I don't want to thread any needles of like, oh, it's because of their political blah, 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 blah. But like, come on. You'd think a guy would be like, wait, you guys know it's Hanukkah, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be like,
on the first day of Hanukkah.
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough.
Like
either this is
like
straight Nazi shit, or it's the most Michael Scott-esque fuck up in history.
How do you...
And it is, if you, listener, if you have any doubts and you haven't seen it, please check out the article. Look at this. Tell me it's not a swastika. Now, that said, they do train you when you're doing any kind of graphic design like this for crossword puzzles or what have you. They train you to specifically not do swastikas. Like, even if it could be like...
Unless you're in India.
And like, even if it's like a stretch, even if it's like a wild reach, if anyone could possibly perceive it as a swastika, you're supposed to just scrap it. But that's not even the case with this. It just is a swastika. And the thing is, I did originally see this story on Twitter, and someone replied with a link to the second link in the show notes labeled their response asterisk. If you want to check that out. This is a tweet from New York Times Games. Do not look at the date on this tweet. They say, this isn't in reply to anyone, but they just said, yes, hi, it's not a swastika. Honest to God. No one sits down to make a crossword puzzle and says, hey, you know what would look cool? Now, that seemed like a very insensitive response. This person at 1000 trash on Twitter says, hey, annoyed Jew here. We made a swastika on accident, so we are not sorry. Is not the tact you want right now. I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good summary of how people felt about this. Just very insensitive, very much a non-apology. Very much like, oh, I'm sorry that you feel bad. Like, just not adequate.
Just completely gaslighting them.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not a swastika. You're crazy.
What are you talking about?
Now look at the date. Look at the date on that tweet. Tell me what it says.
Oh, 2017, October 28th.
October 28th, 2017. This is not the first time this has happened. Now, granted, this is not like the first time was not like as overt as this time. This time it was very obviously a swastika. If you look at the next link, it's labeled "They did not learn." You see it? Yeah, it's comparing the first one to the swastika. That is a swastika still, even if it doesn't look as like explicitly like a swastika. That is still a fucking swastika. Now you'd think they would learn from their first time, but no, I guess not.
Could you? Okay, I want to let's put this in someone else's shoes for a second. What if what if it was something that was like that could be viewed as anti-Christian? Could you imagine? Remember
imagine if it was like a pentagram.
Remember when Starbucks changed their cups to not say like Merry Christmas or whatever and just made them red?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, they just did. They didn't even do a different design.
Anti-Christian.
Yeah, they just removed the design.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they put swastikas in their cup?
Yeah. But apparently they responded to this particular instance. So this is from The Independent. New York Times responds after readers accuse paper of swastika-shaped crossword puzzle. I'll just read a very brief segment from the article. The New York Times has responded after being inundated with criticism prompted by the design of Sunday's crossword, which appeared to be shaped like a swastika. Quote, "This is a common crossword design. Many open grids and crosswords have a similar spiral pattern because of the rules around rotational symmetry in black squares," unquote, a spokesperson for the paper told dailymail.com. Now I will direct the reader's attention back to the original design. That's a fucking swastika. I'm sorry, but that is a swastika.
You just need to be like, oh, hey, hi, okay, I see your point. This is just what they had to say, right? Many people have said that there's a swastika in our crossword. I see it. Okay, I get your point. I hear you.
Yeah.
All we do is we take the words, we put it into a computer program, and it spits it out. We will try to do more, make sure this doesn't happen again, especially at sensitive times.
Right. Yeah. All they had to do was just apologize in a genuine way. We're
sorry. This was just based on how the game works and the format that we have it as. There was no intention to make this anti-Semitic. We apologize.
Yeah.
We're going to put more oversight on this in the future.
Right. Yeah. All they had to do was just do a genuine apology. Now I am sharing my screen with you because I do want to review this TikTok together that kind of recontextualizes a lot of this. But before that, I will say, this had to go through so much review to get published. Like, this had to go through like multiple layers of approval because it's a fucking newspaper. It's the New York Times, one of the most popular papers in the country. So there's no way that this like wasn't noticed. But
yeah.
Anyway, I will just we will watch this TikTok together because this person just shines a lot of light on it. I don't remember what exactly they said, but it is very valuable information.
Okay, so y'all remember how the New York Times crossword on the first night of Hanukkah was a swastika, and how that wasn't the first time? Well, this is the puzzle they followed it up with.
Again, link in description.
Here making
for the
two
listener.
S's. Right here. SS. But apparently, there are even more in the New York Times crossword app.
Straight Nazi shit. That's a swastika.
2.
Swastika. Fucking swastika.
3.
Okay.
That is a swastika.
4.
That is even more of a swastika.
And 5.
That's, yeah.
One of which clues was that. And
Yeah,
if you've forgotten,
the
the
word
one
Jew.
from 2017 looks like that.
That's a swastika.
Once is like, okay. Twice is like, I think we're at 7 times now. This is atrocious, abhorrent, and the New York Times needs to take all of them down and issue apologies. This is not okay. Okay.
So, like, so here's the thing. I get her point. I do. Like, it's hard to ignore that, but like on just the off day where it's a swastika, like I don't think that the vitriol is there to argue that it's something that's abhorrently offensive.
I just don't see how you could do that much Nazi shit in your crossword by accident. Like, I think, and by the way, this is like the same guy. Like, the crossword editor has been the same guy for like 30 years.
It's the same dude.
So, yeah, it's the same dude doing all of these, or at least like approving all of these. So, the New York Times crossword guy might just be a Nazi. I mean, we don't know, but like, it's not looking good for him.
The optics are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say what his motivations are. I can't say anything about his personal feelings or thoughts, but like it's either Nazi shit or just a terrible fuck up.
Right. Well, I mean, in my mind, given that it is a game and these are just shapes to play the game, I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit and look at this in a context that's not like the impetus is not there to cause harm to any particular group because it's a crossword. The optics are terrible though because you released this on Hanukkah, and on some other occasions, like one of the words was Jew.
Yeah, and it looked like a swastika. Like, it had like the general shape of a swastika, which, by the way, to repeat myself, they train you specifically not to do that.
Right. Again, I'm not Jewish, so I can't really comment as to how offensive this is.
Yeah, I'm not Jewish myself either. All I can really do is just echo what other people who are Jewish have said about it, and it's not looking good. It is not looking good, let me tell you.
Right. It's not. The optics are awful, and hey, let's not hate on groups that have nothing to do with you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just go out like guns blazing accusing someone of being a Nazi. That's why I say it's either that or it could
especially
be,
when it's a crossword.
Yeah, it could be just the most colossal
I'm not denying that
coincidence ever. Like, but it would have to be a pretty like specific set of circumstances for this kind of coincidence to happen.
Right. I definitely think the New York Times should get its fucking shit together here.
Yeah.
And
like someone needs to be fired. Someone either needs to get better or get fired.
So let's redo this.
Yeah.
Let's go over this again. Don't let swastikas in the crossword.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to like write on the chalkboard 100 times, I will not make my crossword a swastika.
Right. And it's really hard to, and like, again, it's difficult to disconnect the meaning from the symbols.
Yeah.
Especially when the symbols aren't in the context of the situation to be symbols. You know, like in my mind, it's just a crossword, but I get it when, you know, you're a part of a group that has been historically marginalized. You know, okay.
Well, like it's not just shapes,
you know?
when it like has like affected you and your people throughout history.
Right. Exactly. So yeah.
And like even if
New York Times,
is
come on,
like
guys.
Even if it is just how the shape happens to come out, like it's just a standard spiral, just do a different shape. Like, have you run out of shapes?
Are there like no more shapes that you can use?
Right. Just don't use the ones that are Nazi adjacent.
Right.
Just don't do it.
It's weird because it's not even that fucking hard. Like,
yeah, just don't do it. Just don't do Nazi shit.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Anyway. This is not us covering it, but I was thinking next week we could talk about the whole Andrew Tate thing, because we don't have time in this episode, and maybe it'll give it time for the story to develop. But there has been a very funny string of events involving Andrew Tate, just starting beef with Greta Thunberg, starting beef with a teenage girl on Twitter for no reason, out of nowhere. He started it, and it ended with him going to Romanian prison.
It's great.
It's great. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about that next week. Anyway,
and I was telling Alex on the phone, I just want to mention this. You know, I don't know what it may have felt like to hear that Lord Voldemort died trying to kill a baby. But this is what I feel like the feeling was. Like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Whew. Glad that's over.
Yeah, no one resurrect him.
Please don't.
Yeah. Anyway, we watched a movie this week. I got notes. I got paper notes this time. I haven't done those in a while. I'm bringing it back.
So, I want to know what you thought, Alex.
Okay. So my thoughts
nerd.
on Star Trek V: The Final Frontier are, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was like, oh, I gotta watch a fucking Star Trek thing. But then, like, I don't know why I'm so surprised every time, but yeah, I just had a fun time with it. I enjoy that it just doesn't, it doesn't like hold your hand with like character introductions or like introducing you to the world and everything. Yeah. But at the same time, it doesn't just throw you in with like nothing, you know, like nothing. Like it strikes a good balance of like, hey, if you're new, this is what's going on. And if you're returning, like, good, let's get up to speed. Let's get this going.
Right.
Like I've seen, the only other Star Trek stuff I've seen is what we've covered here. So I've seen The Wrath of Khan, and the next one after this, the sixth one, the great whatever, the undiscovered country. But
we've already watched that one.
Yeah. That I've seen. So number 2 and number 6. Now number 5. This is my third one. I just liked it. I like that it starts out with Kirk and Dr. McCoy and Spock just like
they're just camping,
just broing out, just camping.
Yeah,
That's what I like about Star Trek. Like, I didn't realize like how much of it was like still very much tied to Earth. Because like Star Wars,
and that's what I love about it too. Yeah.
Everyone compares Star Trek to Star Wars, just because of like the superficial similarities.
Right.
Where Star Wars is very much like escapist fantasy, but Star Trek is still very like terrestrial. Like it is still very like human. Like there's like governments, like proper functioning governments. And yeah, I just like it. I did enjoy very thoroughly seeing Kirk, McCoy, and Spock just hanging out, just singing "Row, row, row your boat," just broing out,
while
wearing person clothes. It's always jarring seeing like sci-fi characters wearing people clothes, but it's so fun
because he just showed up to the set wearing his normal whatever,
just wearing a flannel and a white t-shirt, you know, and jeans.
It's fine. It's DeForest Kelley in 1989, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, the character introductions are very good. The characterization is strong. Like you get a very good idea of who everyone is without it being like, I'm Kirk and I'm the leader.
Right.
And I'm Dr. McCoy and I'm the smart one.
Exactly. Although I hate how just like dickish they are to Spock. Like
they're at some point
they have
racist.
to understand they're racist kind of assholes a little bit, and it's like, you guys have worked with this individual for
it's okay. I have a Vulcan
decades,
friend,
and but like you've worked with this dude for over two decades, and you haven't figured out that he's an alien who doesn't understand all Earth cultural like norms,
right?
Like, come on, fuck
him, yeah.
What the hell?
Be nicer to Spock.
But it's because they're just kind of racist, though.
Yeah,
that's kind of it. Have you seen all the times that Dr. McCoy was like, Spock, you're a green-blooded hobgoblin?
Yeah. You mentioned this to me. He doesn't call him like a hobgoblin or anything like that. He just calls him like a green-blooded Vulcan, I believe, in this movie. But you mentioned he does that in the series.
Green-blooded inhuman, right?
In the series, he calls him like an inhuman green-blooded hobgoblin.
Yeah. Which, if you go into Spock's growing up trauma, right, doesn't help. That feeds into his already existent dilemma of feeling not adequate enough to be human and not adequate enough to be Vulcan.
Yeah, he grows up on. Is the planet called Vulcan?
The planet's called Vulcan.
That's dumb. So he grows up on Vulcan.
Fuck you too, then.
And he's like, he's too human for them. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to go out and join the Navy. And then he does. And everyone's like, oh, you're too Vulcan now. Like, what is he supposed to do? Can a guy catch a break?
Fucking excuse me? Right. No, and it's only when like he's made a name for himself that Vulcan's like, hey! How are you, Spock? How are you?
We accept you now.
You.
Now that you're worth something.
What is that? You've saved Earth, the center of the Federation, and Vulcan on multiple occasions just cuz?
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Now, I'm not biracial myself, but from like what I've gathered and what I understand, just like consuming media, like it seems like a pretty accurate depiction of being biracial. Like you grow up in one community not feeling like you fully belong, and then when you're like around white people, you still don't feel like you fully belong. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we give them shit. Like, we give them shit. We give the character shit for like being racist or whatever, but it seems to be an accurate depiction of that kind of situation.
Well, it's more than just like I think just the difference in flag, really. I think it's just like the fact that humans enjoy their interactions based on kind of how they feel about them, right? Whereas Vulcans get satisfaction from their interactions based on how logical they were.
Oh, damn, right? Girl, that dress is so logical.
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, yeah, they will call you out if you are too emotional and tell you that you shouldn't be working if you're too emotional.
Yeah,
right. From a completely Vulcan mindset that they for some reason can't possibly grasp that maybe humans can be emotional and logical at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's not a binary.
And so when Spock is like, when Spock is like, hey, I can manage my emotions like just as well as any Vulcan. I just happen to have emotions that are more human. And they're like, shut up, you're not Vulcan.
Yeah. Well, also like
you're filthy. You red-blooded hobgoblin.
Emotions are often logical. Like emotions often have a logical root. Like I'm pissed off because this guy cut me off in traffic. That was illogical of him to do that, and I'm pissed off.
Right, exactly. And they don't seem to understand that like their idea of like perfect logicness coming from like a Vulcan standpoint is inherently biased.
Yeah.
Like they have this idea that they are like the pinnacle of like all thinky people, all thinky races.
Yeah.
They're the best until like Captain Archer and Enterprise comes along and like solves a couple galactic issues that have been going on because the Vulcans were so unwilling to change their views.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going into Star Trek history there, but
yeah, without getting too much into the weeds. Yeah, I mean I guess that's a good segue into the villain of this piece. What was his name? It was like Cyroth. There was a Psy in it.
I don't know. It's Lord Voldemort,
Jesus.
For all I care.
Jesus, basically.
Space Jesus.
Space Jesus.
One thing I like about this villain is that he's not even villainous. He's just like, here, let me cure your mental illnesses. And he cures their mental illnesses.
Not
and
necessarily
like, hey,
cure them, but at least like he's doing therapy. Like he's doing like streamlined express therapy.
Right. Of like, what happened? Tell me what happened. Let's think about this.
Let out your feelings.
Logically.
Face your insecurities.
It's okay. Safe place here. Safe space here. Huh?
Which is also very logical.
Right.
Wouldn't logic dictate that if you have trauma, you should work through that trauma instead of just burying it?
Wow. Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have
No, and I love how he's... Who'd have thunk it? I love how he's just like, share with me your pain. Cool. I'm helping you out. I'm going to go do this other thing. You don't feel pressured at all that you have to help me.
Yeah.
In fact, if you were trying to get somewhere, I'll give you a lift. Mm-hmm. And don't feel like you owe me anything, but I'm going to do this thing that I think is really cool. And if you want to join me, you're more than welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Watching this, like, I was rooting for him, to be honest, because his whole motivation is just, he wants to see some cool shit. He just wants to see like God, basically. He wants to see what's beyond like the outermost regions of like the settled galaxy or the settled universe.
Right.
He just wants to see some cool shit.
Kirk,
and he's like, he's like, hey, work through your trauma. And if you want, I'm going to look at some cool shit. And if you want to come, I got room in my crew.
You can. Yeah. Which I think is just really neat, but it's also fun to see Kirk encountered with a villain who's not inherently villainous.
Yeah, I was gonna say I expected him to do something villainous, and he never did. He never actually did anything wrong. Besides, like
Kirk was just
arguably, you could say it was wrong of him to hijack the Enterprise, but like he wanted to see some pretty cool shit. I would have done it too. I would have joined him.
Right, and like people. I think some people did die, but even then he was like inherently remorseful. Like, I didn't want this to happen. This is not what I wanted to happen.
Explicitly trying not to kill people.
Right. And I love how even when he gets control of the Enterprise and they're heading to the center of the galaxy, he's just like, here, Kirk, you can have the chair back. I've gotten what I needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
he's like, I got what I needed. We're good. We're no beef.
Well, because
even when we get there, explore by the book. Just go by by the Federation's book. I'm here to do my thing. You can do what you need to do. We're good.
Yeah, he was very above board about it. He was like, hey, look, you're the captain.
Right.
Turn around if you want, but I know you want to see this cool shit. And Kirk is like,
come on, this is God.
Oh, fuck, you're right. Oh, okay.
And I love how
right,
Kirk
full speed
takes
ahead, Sulu.
I like how Kirk takes the, kind of, what is it? Toxically masculine alpha male approach to mental health treatment.
I live with my pain.
No, my suffering is what makes me. Even though it's been proven time and time again, that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is like after his son was killed, right? So like he probably has some shit to deal with regarding that. Like, isn't
right?
If I remember correctly, the sixth movie, a big part of it is he has like a grudge against the Klingons because one of them killed his son.
Because they killed his son.
Imagine if he had worked through that trauma.
Right.
We could have solved an entire movie if the bad guy just got his way in this one.
Well, especially in the fact, like in the Wrath of Khan at the end, like even his son, whose name is David, by the way. His son David was just like at the beginning of the movie, like, I don't want one of these Navy hotheads, laser brain assholes to take care of Genesis. This is a scientific matter. I want scientists to work on it. And then by the end of the movie, he's just like, hey, Dad, I'm proud of you. Thank you for doing what you did because you saved the day. And I see that you were instrumental in making sure most everyone got out alive. And then the next movie, his son dies.
Yeah.
And it's like, there could have been, at least from the story, people who are listening to the story understand there could have been like a whole relationship there, right? And now it's been stripped away from Kirk, the possibility of ever being like a father figure.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Klingons.
That's some shit to work through.
You need to work through that.
Yeah,
but I love how when they finally get to see like Space God. Yeah, right. Space God is like, I need your ship. And he's just like, well, what does God need with a starship? Yeah. And then McCoy is just like, you don't check the Almighty's ID, Jim.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I like that. You don't ask the Almighty for his ID. I love that. Yeah, dude, I was like completely sussed out by quote unquote God. And that's actually what he's credited as, quote unquote God. Yeah, I was like completely sussed out by him. Well, I sent you this on Snapchat. At first, I thought he was going to be like, fuck off. I put up the barrier for a reason. Get out of here. But then he was oh, you have a starship, you say. You have a starship. Could this starship hypothetically carry my wisdom on it? And
my essence.
Spread me throughout the galaxy. And Space Jesus is like, yeah, sure. And then, Kirk is like,
I guess.
Wait, hold on. I thought this guy was God. And I thought he was God. Needed the starship.
And I love how, like, even when, like, Kirk is questioning God, he's just like, what do you need with a starship? And God is like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you created me, so you created me. You should know who I am. Right? If you're God, you should know this. This is known. You're all omniscient, like all knowing.
Yeah, he was like basically breaking out the atheist talking points. It was fun to see.
Like, shouldn't you know this? And then McCoy is just like, how dare you, Jimmy? He's like, no, I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, yeah. And then Spock backs him up like, hold on. You didn't answer his question. What does God need with a starship? And there's something like kind of like perverse about quote unquote God, like assuming like the classic like bearded old white guy like image of God. Like there's like like it's very like subtextual, but it just felt very like perverse that he assumes that form and he's like talking through that like operating like a puppet or something. When like if he has a true form, it could be something completely unrecognizable. Like you're talking to something that may have no regard for life at all, just pretending to be like this, archetypical God figure. And I don't know, there's just something like uncomfortable about that. Like uncomfortable like in like a good horror sense. And I like that.
Yeah.
And I like that they don't bother like explaining what quote unquote God is, what his motivations are, what his true form is, even what the planet is. You just get the impression like there's a reason he's sealed away, and that reason it ain't going to be good for us.
Right.
You're just given just enough that you know what's going on basically, and you can fill in the rest with whatever like horrors your mind can come up with.
I just hope that Spock's brother after this whole thing. Wait, did he die? I forget. Did he die?
He like gets blown up. First, he mind melds with quote unquote God. That probably fucks him up. Then he gets hit with a torpedo. So
okay, that he's probably dead.
Like double dead.
I was gonna say, because it's been a while since I've watched this movie. Gonna be honest.
Yeah, hasn't it been like a few weeks by this point?
A few weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like how I would have liked if he survived and then went into mental health treatment for the Federation, because he's been shown to be very effective at that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that would just make sense. Like, or just any Vulcan, you know, like they can all do that mind meld shit, right? He's just the one that came up with this application for it. But
also, he's very, because like, I mean, emotions for Vulcans is like sex for humans. Like they can like them, but oftentimes it's a taboo.
Yeah, and he's kind of fucking everyone around him.
Essentially, he might as well walk into a Vulcan household naked.
Yeah. I guess he's the only one that would do it. That would that would
be willing to try to understand emotions.
Yeah,
because even Spock was like, he was exiled because he tried to understand emotions.
That's fucked up. This guy did nothing wrong. He is purely a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
Like he was basically just a theater kid.
Kirk, when he was telling Kirk about what he was trying to do, I was like, okay, I see what he's talking about. And then he got to the point where he's just like, anyway, at the center of the galaxy, I've been talking to God.
Yeah,
and it's like, you're fucking crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I expected like there to be some kind of twist, and I thought that was gonna be it. Like I thought the whole time, okay, he's too good so far. They're gonna do the thing where like I talked to you about this trope, but they're gonna do the trope where like the bad guy does so many good things, then he like blows up a children's hospital to show that he's the bad guy. They never did that, and I thought that the twist was gonna be like, oh, he's crazy. He thinks he's talking to God. He's gonna like fly them into a black hole. But he was still right, kind of.
Yeah,
he was still right. He did nothing wrong. He's like,
he did nothing wrong.
He's only the antagonist, like for lack of a better villain.
Right. And it's like, and that's why I like this movie, because it finally gives Kirk someone who's not inherently bad.
Yeah.
Right. This guy is just a dude who's given mental health treatment services and then also letting people tag along if they want to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, just good stuff.
Yeah. Just good stuff. Well, I'm happy you enjoyed this movie, man. This is awesome.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I like this series. I think it's like, I don't know, just like well thought out. Like it's nuanced.
Right.
Like it's not so like simplistic, I guess. Yeah, I'd say best
not
movie ever.
White.
Definitely. So far, definitely top movie of 2023 that we've reviewed.
Of course. Even though it was made in 1989.
Yeah, but we reviewed it now.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, we didn't get to the Vulcan side plot, but yeah, the entire time there's a Vulcan ship that's heading towards the Enterprise. They're like on their tail. I don't think they even know about it until the attack at the end of the movie. Like just this Vulcan ship or this Klingon ship. Did I say Vulcan the entire time? This Klingon ship.
You did say Vulcan.
This Klingon ship, the Klingons have been following them the entire movie, and then they finally attack it. Honestly,
the Klingons have been following them through this entire program.
Through the entire program, yes, the Klingons have been following them. Yeah, they like attack at the worst possible time, destroy the stuff, and like I forgot until like it happened, like until Spock was like, "Hey, Klingon High Command, talk to this guy," but I. Like when that happened, I was like, oh yeah, they do have like a high up with them.
Right.
And basically like they bring in this guy's dad to make him apologize. Hey, Dad says I gotta say I'm sorry for trying to kill you and attacking your ship.
Sorry.
Won't happen again.
Please don't take away my Fortnite.
Dad, you know I'm trying to grind through the battle pass.
I just imagine a Vulcan being like, I'm trying to get through the battle pass.
You mean a Klingon?
Yeah, sorry, the Klingon.
Yeah, the Klingon.
Klingons.
Yeah.
On the program.
Very few robots in this story, actually.
I mean, the entire Enterprise is basically a robot.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck the system. Yeah, I think that's all that I got. I think that
that's all I got.
Best movie ever. Next week it is my turn. I was thinking we could talk about American Psycho, but I don't know. It's good. I rewatched it a few days ago, and like I think I had a deeper appreciation for it than I did the first time watching it. But I don't know. I feel like watching something a bit lighter. So
okay.
All right, I'll give you a choice. Do you want? Well,
okay.
We're gonna do the standard. I don't know what to watch next week. Cop out. So we're gonna continue another franchise. So the franchises that we have on the docket to continue are Twilight, Marvel, Indiana Jones, and I feel like there was another franchise: Twilight, Indiana Jones, Marvel,
Star Trek.
We just did a Star Trek. We gotta give some cool down.
Emoji Movie.
No. I do have a copy of it on Jonathan, but I refuse to cover the Emoji Movie for the next episode.
Wow.
Also, it's my choice.
Emoji Movie.
It's my choice. So if you don't pick one of these franchises, I'm picking for you.
No, it's your turn to choose. So choose.
All right. Well, all right. How about we continue Twilight?
I'm gonna shoot myself.
Hey, you had the opportunity to pick Marvel or Indiana Jones. No, fuck you. We're doing Twilight.
Twilight.
Okay. So we have gone through the first three. So we're getting to the finale. Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 from 2011.
Breaking Dawn. That's what I call my ass checks when I get in the shower.
Be there or be square.
Shower.
And that's what
I'll
the
right
deal
back.
is.
I'll be right back. I need to pee.
Okay. All right. I'll play some hold
music. I gotta go pee.
Friends.
I dreamed I saw my maternal grandmother sitting by the bank of a swimming pool, which was also a river. Her genital
Gavin, you're
region
back.
I actually turned off my audio.
Oh, you turned off your audio
for that.
Oh, here. If you didn't hear it, let me play it again.
I dreamed I saw my maternal grandmother sitting by the bank of a swimming pool, which was also a river.
Turn it up? You need me to turn it up? All right, you can unmute yourself. You there? You there? You can hear? You hear me? Are you doing a bit right now?
Hi. I'm doing a bit.
You're doing a bit? It's very
on
funny.
Your mom's tit.
It's very funny. Whatever. Anyway, recommendations of the week. If you have any, add them. I do have yet another update on my Marvel mail order subscription saga. I got these in the mail today. I got 4 issues from my subscriptions. Amazing Spider-Man number 15, Deadpool number 2, Dark Web Mary Jane and Black Cat number 1, Dark Web Miss Marvel number 1, and they all arrived today, like a couple weeks after their shipment date. So still consistent with what I said before. It takes a couple weeks to get to your address, depending on where you live. But yeah, they arrived intact, good condition. They weren't mangled by the mail carrier. So far so good. It's working out. So if you want to buy physical comics and you want to save money, it's a good option still. You will still need bags and boards because they do not come with that. So that'll be kind of a must for storage, but they're pretty cheap. So anyway, recommendations of the week. The first one that I want to get to is Kerbal Space Program is free on the Epic Game Store starting Thursday the 5th and going through Thursday the 12th of January of this year.
Keep in mind, I'm not sure if that includes the DLCs.
You know what? I will look for that while you pitch Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, dude.
Kerbal Space Program, excuse me, to the listeners.
So if you're even generally a space fan, if you just want to understand in more depth just kind of how it works.
Oh, hold on. There's going to be a sequel coming out, Kerbal Space Program 2.
KSP 2 coming out in 2023, I think. Early 2023. I'm not sure, though. Yeah, if you just want to know generally how, like, kind of space science works in terms of getting something from, like, point A to point B, if you just want to fuck around in space, I highly recommend Kerbal Space Program. It does a really great job of putting the certain aspects that kind of weigh out how space travel work into perspective. And it is a good way to train your brain to do good things with critical thinking. So
yeah, seems like a fun like sandbox kind of thing. Like just
you can do sandbox
kind of fucking
or
around,
career mode.
finding out.
Right.
Kind of like Minecraft.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, kind of like Minecraft, except you can't like just make a new you can't just make a new engine.
Right.
Like you have to,
I mean, it's like Minecraft in that
have.
it's like a sandbox with you can use the tools to make a bunch of different stuff and exercise your creativity.
Yeah, it's really fun. I recommend it.
Yeah. And for the low price of free, like you can't really turn that down. That's on the Epic
like to mention
Games store.
Yeah. I'd also like to mention too that this game has like helped countless like physics students and aerospace students kind of grapple with like what they've been taught in class. I don't know that from personal experience, seeing as I'm not a aerospace. Well,
it probably
engineer.
Makes it more like tactile, like more tangible.
Tactile, and and especially that like the devs even have taken that into consideration. So now they offer mods that like will tell you more information than what the game like will initially tell you.
Yeah.
So I love this game. I've been playing it ever since like 2015. So over like 6-7 years now, 8 years going on, I think, if it's 2023.
Well, I remember you playing it at CTC when we were going there together.
Right. And even then, I've been playing it throughout middle school. Like,
yeah.
It's a game that I very much love.
Yeah, and you can run it on like fucking anything. If you have like a decent, like relatively recent computer, you can probably run it. The requirements.
I'm playing it on my Surface Pro 8, so
yeah. And I remember you were running it on like an older computer.
Surface Pro 4. Yeah.
The processor, just a Core 2 Duo, 2 gigahertz, 4 gigs of RAM. Which, if you have a computer, you have at least 4 gigs of RAM. Storage 3 gigabytes, pretty small storage requirement. Graphics, it's kind of vague on it. It just has to be DirectX 10 compatible, and it has to have 512 megabytes of VRAM, which is like fucking nothing by today's standards.
Right.
So you can probably run it. I mean, even if you can't, like, you're not putting any money in to figure out that you can't run it.
Right.
But, what you described kind of reminds me of the game Elite Dangerous. I haven't personally played it, but Up Is Not Jump made a very in-depth video on it. By the way, that's a good YouTube channel. He talks about video games,
that one.
A lot of VR stuff. Have you heard of Elite Dangerous?
I have not, but I like the fact that like Up Is Not Jump. That's cool.
Yeah, dude, that's a
cool
really
name.
good channel. He talks about like a lot of VR games. When this is, I believe it's VR compatible.
It is, but it's janky.
Elite Dangerous is.
Elite Dangerous. I'm not sure. But KSP
is Kerbal Space Program VR compatible?
It is, but it requires another mod that allows you to go first person view.
Oh.
And even then, at that distance from the terrain looks like shit, by the way. It's not good. Like, listen, you just land there.
Yeah, a lot of games actually have VR mods.
Right.
A lot of them does not translate well.
This is another thing I like about the devs of Kerbal Space Program, which is that like when a mod is big enough that it could just be a part of the game, they actually just hire the people who made the mod.
That's good. That's kind of like the Valve strategy of like, don't bury people that you view as competition. Just invite them to be on your team.
Right. And the cool thing is too, like they're all a bunch of science nerds, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so they're not like out here just because they want to sell a game. They actually fucking love space and science, and they are making this awesome game. It's funny because I watched a documentary for how they're making Kerbal Space Program 2. And they're actually reaching out to like PhDs and doctorates of like astronomy and physics to make this game. And because they want to get like everything correct. They want to get the heating correct. They want to get the colors correct. So there's this whole story that this dude told about how they're including a kind of a sci-fi engine that works in theory but they're going to put it in the game anyway. But they wanted to know what color the exhaust would be, right? Because they didn't know.
I'm a big
what
fan
color.
of that.
Right.
Like just reaching out, being like, theoretically, what would this look like?
If we made this, and so they're like, we were just expecting like a tweet back, like, here, this is just generally what would happen. No, this scientist sent them an entire thesis.
That's awesome.
Like an entire, like, because of all these reasons, we think the exhaust would be pink.
That's great. I love that so much.
Isn't it awesome? And so instead of being like, wow, too much information, never mind, they're like, cool, awesome. Actually, you've given us so much more context to change our physics around too.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I love it. I love the level upon level of geekdom and engineering going into this. So
yeah, that's great. But so Elite Dangerous, I did look into it. It does have Steam VR support. It's very, I think that's like a very big part of the game, the VR support.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people go really all out with it. They get like the flight stick and everything. But basically it's like simulating flying a spaceship, like a small, like, I guess like a cargo ship. I think the goal is to like haul cargo from one like planet to another. But yeah, it's a lot of like space travel kind of stuff. Very in depth. Like you have to like learn the instruments. Like it's like flying an airplane. Like it's not just you push the stick forward and it goes. Like you have to like do like flight check, and like you have to do like the landing gear manually. Like all of it is like very, very like mechanical. Like it all just like works like in a realistic way.
You know, and the same thing goes with Kerbal Space Program. Like I can read a nav ball now and I even call it a nav ball. Like it's a navigation ball, but people shorten it to nav ball. I just like the geekness of that. But I know how to read a nav ball now.
That's like, awesome. Yeah. Elite Dangerous is similar, like where like it just teaches you how to like read fucking instruments. But yeah, the best part is as of right. Oh, okay. Special promotion offer ends in 41 hours. So by the time this comes out, the sale will be over. But at the moment, it is on sale for $7.50. Normally $30. But yeah, that's a pretty good deal. It was also free on Epic at one point. So just keep an eye out on the Epic Game Store. Like they have good free games.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, another recommendation. I've been reading Spider-Man Lost Hunt. It's a like a mini series. It's a 5-issue limited series. It takes place like in the 90s. I don't know much about like the context for it. I guess at the time. So are you familiar with the Spider-Man clone saga?
Do you think I am?
It's a little bit of a deep cut. Like if you have never like read comics or heard of any of the stories.
I'm not aware now.
So
please inform me.
So in the 90s, there was what's called the Clone Saga, and there's a Spider-Man villain called the Jackal, and his whole thing is cloning people. Like it's like his whole thing. And he makes it's his shtick. He makes a clone of Spider-Man and he like fights the clone or whatever. And like the end of the first issue, it's just kind of like, oh, the day is saved and we're moving on. Then they bring the clone back and he has like a whole life now. And he's like, oh, Spider-Man, I'll get you. Again, I don't know much about the story, like the particulars of the story. I just know the broad strokes of it. But basically the clone and Peter end up reconciling. And Peter's like, hey, clone, his name is Ben Reilly. He's named after Uncle Ben and Aunt May's maiden name. So Ben Reilly takes over as Spider-Man for a little bit while Peter moves to like Oregon, I think. And this is where Spider-Man Lost Hunt takes place. I guess at this point in the comics, he lost his powers. I don't know how, but he has no powers and he's living with Mary Jane and she's pregnant and he's like a teacher now. And they're just making a life together, but he's like being hunted by one of Kraven the Hunter's like relatives or something. He's related somehow to Kraven the Hunter, and he's like fucking with him, doing like all kinds of like magic, like voodoo stuff, making him see things that aren't there. And basically a big part of the story is Peter dealing with so much fucking trauma. Like how he's been risking his life since the age of 15. Like that, like all of that compounded trauma is just all at once falling on him. And he's like freaking out, like having panic attacks. And like a lot of it is being induced by the villain, but it is still just his own trauma. So I think it's a good exploration of that. It's something that I like about the Steven Universe Future series. Like, it's Steven Universe, but like a couple years later, Steven's a little older, and he's dealing with just the sheer amount of trauma he has gained since the age of 14.
Yeah.
And I like stories like that where it's like, oh, this character has had so many fun adventures, but he has risked he's risked his life many times, and he is a child. He's basically a child soldier.
Not funny.
Not fun stuff when you really think about it. I just think it's a good exploration of that. I believe, that one, Lost Hunt, is 2 issues in. So, the story is still developing, but I think it's a decent character exploration so far. Definitely once all 5 issues are out, I would suggest either reading it on Marvel Unlimited if you have that, or picking up like the trade paperback, like the 5 issues collected into one book.
Right.
But I have one last recommendation, and this is a special one. So I was at the Blind Pig comedy show last night, and it was fun. And I performed there, and it was a good set. And that recording that I got on my phone is up on the podcast feed. I put it up earlier today as of recording. Mm-hmm. So listen to that if you haven't already, if you want. I think it was a very good set. People liked it. There was laughter and applause at the end. So,
and they all clapped.
And then they all clapped when I said thank you and good night. Yeah, that was just fun. That was a fun night. And I think any other recordings that I get, if I think they're good enough, I think I will put them on the podcast feed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I don't like putting them on YouTube as much because I just don't like opening myself up to YouTube comments.
All right. Yeah.
Because like I've put stand-up clips on YouTube before, even like the good ones. People like, even when they're trying to compliment you, will often say just like bad stuff.
Yeah, like backhanded stuff.
Like I remember getting one that was like, "Oh, guys, come on." This is one that like went particularly viral and had some negative comments. Someone was like, "Oh, come on, guys, we all got to start somewhere. I think this kid has potential." Like,
okay, didn't ask.
I didn't ask. One comment that I got that really stuck with me was it was something along the lines of, he's like Jimmy Kimmel but worse. I
don't think Jimmy Kimmel is particularly funny.
He's not. No, he's not. No, and that was the entire point, that I'm worse than the worst.
But have you seen Jay Leno?
I have. I actually saw him live at Interlochen.
I don't think he's funny.
It was a fun show, but I was like in middle school, I think. Or like early high school.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a fun show, but yeah. Anyone that makes it to late night isn't going to be the funniest person. I believe that. I think any institution like that will chew up and spit out just like people that have raw talent but can't work within the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like how every politician ends up just being kind of milquetoast in the end.
Right, because that's what gets you votes.
That's not just what gets you votes necessarily, that's just what gets you funding. Like that's what gets you big dollar donations. Like they're not going to elect people that rock the boat. And it's like in media, how you don't get to like being an anchor on CNN by doing hard-hitting journalism. You do it by playing ball. Mm-hmm. And it's like that with late night. Like Jimmy Fallon didn't get where he was by being funny. He got to where he is by being friends with Lorne Michaels and just being able to shill well.
Yeah.
And doing his fake laugh. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, if I do make it to late night, I am reversing everything I have said.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a spineless hack.
I'll be like the co-host that's like a yes man.
You'll be my Andy Richter.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, how about this news story? And you'll be like, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I'm just imagining if we did switch to the late night format, I would probably kill myself.
Yeah, no, I'm not down for that.
I like being able to say what
building,
I think.
Right? Yeah.
What did you say?
That's next to a tall building, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Yeah, I would just hope that the studio was on a high enough up floor that I could just be like, and for my next segment, alley-oop.
Into a kiddie pool.
Yeah. God, let's just stick with this. Come to think of it.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm having a good time.
This is good.
Yeah.
I like having this freedom to say things that don't necessarily go with the official narrative, man.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Dude. No one says bro anymore.
Yeah.
They go bruh.
Bruv. How about we make bruv an American thing?
Right.
Hey, bruv. No, I don't like it.
Hey, bruv.
Let's retire this.
I don't like this.
Anyway, that's the show.
I think that's the show.
That's the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Bold of You to Say. If you liked it, then like it. If you subscribe, then subscribe. And if you comment, it better be nice. We do have very fragile egos.
Yeah.
If you want us to do a late night show, keep dreaming, bud.
Yeah.
But maybe if you subscribe on Patreon.
Even if we had the fuck you money, we wouldn't.
Yeah. Maybe if you subscribe on Patreon, we can do our own Eric Andre-esque grassroots late night show.
Right.
Maybe.
For sure.
Maybe I'll just pocket all of it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, follow me on social media. Don't follow Gavin anywhere.
Don't
do
me.
it.
Stop it.
It's unwise.
Stop.
Just, I know you're thinking about it. Like, I can read your thoughts. I can't read them perfectly. They're not very legible, but I get the general idea. Don't do it. I know you're thinking it. Don't do it.
Just stop.
Yeah. Subscribe to the Clips channel. I have not been uploading there very much lately. And maybe that'll change. Who knows? Ring that freaking bell and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a good 9 a.m. through 9 p.m. our official business hours. Leave a review on the fucking things. And let's get the hell out of here.
Let's
Let's leave.